Hi, Peter Allen, Figure Transformation, and what I'm going to go over today, I just finished shoulders and back workout. It went quicker than I thought, so I'm going to also go and do my biceps and triceps today. Now, any of these exercises can be done with a cable machine, dumbbells, resistance bands. I'll kind of show the variations of kind of switching it up and how to make that happen. So first I'll start with dumbbells if we have them at home. I feel like a lot of people do if they're watching workout videos. Again, the same thing can be done in the gym, and that's what I'll show you with the cable. So bicep curls, I want to make sure my core is tight. Again, like I talked about before, my weight is slightly leaning forward, so I'm forcing a stretch through my calves. I'm not leaning back, I'm slightly leaning forward. My shoulder is kind of slightly retracted, and I'm going to alternate. Now, hand grip and position, as you've kind of heard me say, is huge on this, so I want to make sure my hand is in a, basically I'm rotating into a palms up position. And my hand should be, this dumbbell should be sitting right through the center of my hand, not sitting cross. If this is sitting cross, this changes everything and makes you pull more from your elbow joint than anything else. And it's hard to transfer that weight. So when I'm coming up on my bicep curl, I want to make sure I'm kind of slightly squeezing the top of my bicep and slowly letting it down. Okay? So I start kind of on my side, start with like almost a hammer curl motion, and I go palm up rotation, and I decelerate nice and slow, and rotate it right when it gets back to my body. Now we'll also go into some, again, like kind of hammer curl motions as well. Now if you have a resistance band, sometimes it is a little bit harder to do this with two. You can usually get a good enough tension. I'm just going to skip the rotation on this. And what I'm doing also is keeping constant pressure. And I got to change my angle a little bit too. So I'm shooting off to the sides. Okay? Shoulders retracted. The other way to do it would be to anchor this kind of from somewhere low and coming straight up and in. So again, you get kind of tough variations on how you can do these things, and want to make sure that we're targeting all our muscle groups as much as we can. Triceps, I'm sure plenty of people are familiar with a press. Okay. Now again, you can do this with a resistance band if it was hooked up high. You do it off a TRX. The one thing that is good about a cable is I can, and especially a rope, I can flare my wrists when I get down the bottom. So I'm coming up, pushing with the back of my arms, trying to keep my shoulder blade stable. I want to elicit a big range, so I'm coming all the way up. I used to make the folly of kind of maybe doing a 90 degree, where that is, okay, a different way of doing it. It doesn't get my full range of my triceps. The hard part is that full extension, making sure that you get all the way. Now, if we don't have access to either one of those, I'm going to show you a way to do it with the dumbbells. So, I'm going to lie down on the bench, or you could be lying down on the floor, bending my elbows, bringing them all the way to my shoulder caps, and extending up and out. Now, the arms should not waver through this, so to speak. It's okay if they shake, but the elbow shouldn't be getting kicked out in order to complete this movement pattern. Now, if I want to elicit a little bit bigger, I'm going to let them roll a little bit further and kick them around the corner. This one's a little bit harder with the wrist. Because when you're coming back, it's rolling, so I'm letting this wrist go, then I'm snapping as I come up. Weight should be parallel to the floor at the top. If you guys need a little bit of rest or you want to run a core exercise in between this, it'd be a great time to do it. I'm going to go right back into the biceps. I'm just kind of looking to get so kind of much pump in as short a time as I can. I'll stick with the lighter weights. All right, let me do it here. So bicep. Now when you're doing something like this too, in this kind of fashion, you're with little to no rest, your reps are going to drop, but you want to make sure that your form doesn't. I'm making sure I'm rotating that palm all the way up. A lot of times people fall a little bit short. That changes, again, the exercise completely, if you will. The hard part, all too often, too, is I realize now why a lot of people struggle with the bicep. If we get too tight in our kind of elbow joint, if you will, the short muscles or the smalls are going to really kind of take over, and this is what usually makes, unfortunately, some people kind of lack the bicep definition. We want to make sure we're getting these big stretches. This is where the percussion therapy is kind of, again, very helpful. I run a cable. For those of you with the dumbbells, we'll run the dumbbells. One way to, regardless of the weight that you use, so that's why I don't even bother, or I haven't bothered, talking about weights in the beginning and kind of what you're going to need. You can always make it work, whether you just do a little bit less or you do a little bit more, but also maybe take a little bit longer to make the movement pattern happen. So, you know, for example, I'm only using 15s, but if I was just kind of throwing these up here, this is a way too light a weight. But again, I'm not in control of that movement pattern as much as I would like. So I want to take my time and decelerate nice and slowly. This is why a lot of people will unintentionally kind of throw things around, because, you know, you're moving. So, you know, yeah, you're burning something, but you don't really know what muscles you're kind of engaging. And especially an exercise where it's alternating and you're using two different arms, you can do two totally different things with each arm and not even realize it. You know, might kick the arm out, kick the elbow in, all these things. I mean, that's another important fact I should say. When I'm doing this, I'm coming straight. A lot of people will kick in to try and find strength. So again, if you notice yourself doing that, you want to drop the weight a little bit. Now, if I might want to make this harder, I can go really slow. Same thing coming up. Down. You could even, you know, an old trick with 7s. High one, middle, and then lower. I'm a little tired to be doing that at this point. But you can kind of hit your angles. Usually really good to do it with a barbell, okay? 7 here, 7 here, 7 here, and then 7 all together. Again, a million different ways to work out. It's just a matter of getting in enough variety. Getting all your muscles is the big thing. Upper body, in my opinion, in some ways, be a lot easier than lower. So I'm going to do the tricep here, since I didn't do it last time. Rolling it all the way in and up. Keeping my core pulled in, my back flat to the bench. Head's in neutral position. Okay, inhale on the way down. Exhale on the way up. Inhale. Exhale. So I can even feel my left tricep a little bit weaker. So I'm wanting unintentionally to move faster with that arm. And this is the benefit of doing dumbbells instead of barbells with 2 arms, where again, they're both important, but a lot of weaknesses will kind of pop out, especially in one-arm exercises. And I've known for years my left is not kind of quite up to par with my right, and I'm sure a lot of people are kind of very similar in that fashion. So there's our 3. So we're going to go hammer curls. So now we're just doing no rotation. Tricep, I'm going to go overhead with the cable. The way we can do it with a dumbbell is a pullover, which is not quite the same, Or we can do a resistance band, same thing, coming out. Okay, and you're just going to take the bands out, and you're just going to kind of extend them straight out. But first, let's go bicep. Okay, so we're going hammer curl. Same thing, neutral position with the hands, slight bend in the elbow. And that's kind of a good thing for me to make a point of. When we're using kind of weight, sometimes we want to be careful of fully locking the joint. Now I gotta research that a little bit more. But for now, we're going to keep a slight bend, 1/4 inch of lockout. Okay, so core tight. This is coming right up to my deltoid. Good, nice and slow on the way down. Core tight, slightly leaning forward. Inhale on the way down. Exhale on the way up if you need to focus on the breathing. Now, if you want, you could explode up, down slow. Explode up, down slow. So if we are working explosive, we want to make sure we're also working that negative. All too often, again, I'll see people coming like this. You know, if you notice my dumbbells are not swinging, if I do need a little extra oomph, I might bring it back. Okay, if I'm starting to get tired. There's kind of a, I like to refer to it as controlled cheating, if you will. So I'll go pull over. So it could be done off the floor. You're just going to kind of run into an issue at some point. If you're doing it off a bench, a little bit easier. Come down to a bridge, you're going to grab my weight around. When I come back, I'm going to let my elbows bend. And coming up and pulling over. Right up over the chest. Trying to keep my tabletop as best I can with my legs. Let it bend, and up. Now the other way to do this is a straight arm too. Trying to keep my elbows in as much as I can. I'm just kind of alternating between the bend and the straight. And you could do it either way, all one and all the other. Go back to hammers. I'm going to go up my weight a little bit. Okay. Neutral stance, core tight, slight forward. 1, 2, at a neutral. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I noticed my left elbow wanted to kick a little bit on me, so I might bring it back a little bit. 8, 9, 10. We go back to the here. Oh, I didn't even show you guys this when you did that. All right. I'm gonna stay lighter just for now, just to demonstrating. So I'm going to take the cable. Here I got enough room, so it could get under, but maybe you're using one at the gym, and it's really tight. So if you're really tight to the weight, I'm going to start here. I'm going to turn into it, pull it over my shoulder. Here, pull into my shoulder, turn it around, lean, and extend. So I know I'm weaker with my right foot going forward, so I'm going to force myself to do this. Now again, this can be done with resistance band. The only difference with resistance band, I might not do the flare. I might just go straight. Back is straight. Head remains neutral. Best you can to pressure pointer thumbs. All too often people go to the pinkies, changes everything. Like I've said before, these little nuances really alter exercises. That's honestly really why I'm kind of, two reasons of doing the videos. One, to document kind of what's happening to me as I progress with the percussion therapy, and two, to kind of, I guess, bring a little bit maybe more awareness to technique and form when we're doing a lot of these weightlifting techniques. Yeah, I realize the importance, I'm not going to talk too much here, we're going to go bicep. The importance, body weight, weight training, you know, if somebody all too often maybe not, you know, have the flexibility or the strength to do something with all body weight. I love body weight training, but again, just like anything, it has its kind of limits, unless you got your own kind of jungle gym at home, which I wanted to build myself, but you know, that's ideally what we should all be really kind of doing, is being little kids and playing on the playground again. That might be the best way, but the hard part is building up to that strength to be able to do that again, right? And I realize that's kind of where weight training, functional training, kind of all this stuff starts to play a role in getting us fit enough to be able to start doing some of those. So once you do get fit enough, that's when you kind of want to start working or exploring some of those options. I could let it go further back too. Instead, so eliciting a bigger response. The hardest part with this, I notice, for a lot of people, is just getting it out there. That's where kind of flipping it a little bit is helpful, kind of controlled cheating, if you will. Once you get it out there, you can always let it back slow. And or again, just kind of change or adjust the weight as best you can. All right, so what do we got? We got the rotation, we got the hammer for the biceps, triceps, we got pull over, rolling tricep extension, and let's do one more. A great one that I think is great is kickbacks. Not a easy exercise. You can do it with resistance bands, you can do it with a cable, dumbbells, we'll do it with dumbbells. But hammer curl, what I want to do is kind of more of a concentration drill. That's actually what I want to do. I think that'll be helpful for people. Now, there's a variety of ways to do this. One of the ways that I think is kind of one of the better ways, do a lightweight just to show you, because it is harder. All right, the easiest way to do this is kind of sitting down, putting the elbow into the thigh, okay? A great way, like a preacher curl bench, but or just kind of doing it off a bench. But another way that's honestly much harder is coming here, letting your arm out of the socket and curl. So the great thing about this is my arm is fully lengthened, I realize. Okay, so I got it out of the socket and I'm curling it in. So I'm really working my bicep from a lengthened position to a shortened. The hard part for a lot of people is keeping that elbow out. Sometimes they want to kick it in. And I realize now, after you know, working on this percussion therapy, let's go to this one. I got to go with a better weight next time. Is that the reason that this one is so hard is because, again, it's working from this position where the bicep is really elongated. kick back over one at a time too, just to keep that kind of theory going. So I want to hinge over, almost like I'm skiing, and I'm going to extend. And what I'm even going to do, I want to do it that way. No, I don't want to do it that way. We're going to keep that shoulder stable and extend. Now, if you're pressed for time, you could do this 2 at a time. I'm just staying 1 and 1 because I did the bicep curl that way. And really trying to decelerate that motion on the way back. So I kind of get that locked or lined up with my body, extend, back swell, core tight, pulled in. So I'm trying to squeeze at the end. Try not to come too far forward. The further you come forward, the easier it is because the more momentum you got. Same thing with the shoulder. To try and keep it stable. I kind of thought about moving it a little bit, but it's not really going to elicit any greater movement because my tricep attaches into here. So if I'm just moving this, it's not really getting that. Now maybe if I was coming all the way from here and going down, that might be something to kind of, explore with a tricep or even a, let's see, almost like the resistance band. I'm probably going to hit my end. Actually, so yeah. So like with a resistance band coming all the way up, keep that bend, coming down and down. Hard part though, pull that one more, is going to be the angle of the shoulder. I don't want to get here. I want to make sure I'm here and I'm pulling that back, but I know that I'm kind of, and many people are tight in the front delt here, and they're going to want to get this angle. So we'll try that one at home yet. All right, what was I? Oh, bicep curl. So I'll go preacher curl for this one, or concentration. Okay, this one's a little bit easier. Again, the big thing here, and I realize now the importance of this, is my arm, my bicep are lengthened. I used to just think that this was just for getting that activation and squeezing, and didn't put too much importance on this as much as I should have. I did it a ton in my 20s, but when I got into my 30s, I kind of was looking more functional. And this is why, again, we want to make sure that we're getting a variety of movements in. Let me explore that. So I want to make sure I pull my shoulder down and back a little bit. So I'm lengthening it because here's going to shorten, lengthen, lengthen. So I'm pushing my elbow right into that inside thigh. That's exactly what I'm trying to do now. That I understand how our body tightens as we kind of get older, especially if we're not doing certain exercises. And I know I miss some because even with martial arts, I just wasn't working enough flexibility. And we kind of think like Pilates, yoga, martial arts, that, oh, well, I'm working my flexibility. But we don't realize a lot of times our muscles are under duress when we're working that flexibility. So it doesn't always carry over the way that we would like it to. And I realize mine did, especially again, my right hip that I've been explaining. And when this gets set off, I've been lucky that it didn't kind of screw up my upper body too much. But for a lot of people, I know that the hip, when it starts to get off course, starts to create upper body issues as well. And really where we tighten the most is right through here. But the hard part is kind of making sure that we loosen up all the fascia, especially in the glute area. We tend to think that this isn't tight, but things like a rock. I realize I have a ton of scar tissue on the outside of that hip, where your IT band, your glute, TFL, which turns into the IT band, masseter lateralis, I mean, you gotta think all your quadriceps run right out of here. And it just gets pulled in, it changes everything. And that's why I've spent the last few months just exploring is how can I fix my hip, because I wasn't able to fix it through exercise alone. Now that I can understand what I need to stretch and watch some of the other videos, these are different. Obviously, really what these are important for is, I guess, trying to get across the importance of form and technique and making sure that we're getting enough variety and understanding what the movement patterns are is the best way to explain it. So whether you're doing this in the gym or following along or whatever. I'm going to go back to that first one. So I'm just going to kind of let the arm hang. Coming in. I do this coming slightly in, so you can kind of see a slight rotation, just a little bit. Come up a little bit in my chest, get a bigger movement. I'll explain something in a second too, which I'm hoping this will help. So, we're all dominant one side. I'm right-handed. So I noticed my left, weaker. I had injured it a couple times, and even actually injured my right one too, to the point where I couldn't do pull-ups for almost a year. And tried doing an obstacle course, and made it through it, but it really messed up. I hyperextended my elbow joint, and I realize now, I'll show you. I found a cable that literally runs from my wrist all the way up into my deltoid. And that's the thing that's with these kind of fascial lines. They don't really care about the muscle. They travel right over them. I noticed them a few years ago, like somebody having a tight muscle literally coming all the way up to their other shoulder blade. And those are the movements we kind of take. And if you think of, again, your fascial lines, they don't just stop just at the muscle, and all too often, we're thinking of just the muscle. So while, I'm talking and explaining about the muscle, really what I'm eliciting is, or targeting is these kind of big responses. Now obviously with biceps and triceps, we're somewhat limited to what we're doing. And really what I'm doing with the bicep and tricep is just getting that fascia moving. And all too often what we think of is tightening, I want you to think of lengthening. Okay, so not only are we shortening the muscle, but we want to lengthen the tissue as much as we can. And I always was big on big movement, and now I'm even thinking of, our movement patterns almost wanting to be in some ways bigger. But we also do have to target our kind of small muscles, if you will, or small ranges of motion, so that we too can kind of strengthen, but also facilitate just the fascia movement. I realize kind of that's one of the most important things is getting these movements going. And the bigger they are in some ways, the better they are. And if we also work on loosening the tissue at the same time, especially after, so like later today, I'll probably make another video of kind of loosening up my fascia up and through these areas that I work today. Actually, you know what? I'll probably do one on my arm to try and get this to move. And that's the other thing I want to kind of start to see if this helps, and it should help with muscle recovery. So even though I'm stretching the tissue, because really, again, why does it get sore? Because it gets so tight. And that's, besides lactic acid and whatnot, that's another reason. That's for muscle fatigue, shutdown. But also, again, a lot of times that soreness is our muscles just being tight. I used to be so sore after workouts and always kind of look for that in a workout. And I look back now and realize that was good, but also I didn't do enough stretching. I should have been stretching more. So I didn't become so tight, for lack of better words. So I found this helpful. I think, I'll make a quick video of kind of loosening the fascia in the arms and whatnot. Until the next time, thank you.